Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to talk about a factor trinomials where a is not 1. Okay, so if you're looking for when a is 1, you can check out the video in the top right hand corner right now and you can watch that one. So here we have a couple different methods. Number one, the easiest method, if we can have it, is to factor out the GCF, and then hopefully this will make a 1, and so then we can just find two numbers that add to b and multiply to c. If that's not the case, then we can use what's called the magic x, and I'll draw that up for us, talk about how we work through it. And we're basically going to be using kind of a grouping strategy to help us factor those. And then lastly, we'll look at what about if a is negative. So we could just factor out that negative and then revert back to the magic x, and then just plug in our negative at the very end. All right, so here we go. Number one, we have 4x squared plus 32x plus 60. So this is a great example where we can factor out the GCF, and it's going to make a become 1. So if you see, 4 is a factor of all three of my constants there, or my numbers. So we can factor out a 4, and then we can just write this as x squared plus 8x plus 15. Okay, so 4 times 8x would be 32x, and 4 times 15 is 60. So now we can just leave the 4 here, and we can write now our two products of our binomials. So our variable is x, and we want two numbers that add to 8 and multiply to 15. So hopefully you're thinking positive 3 and positive 5. All right, and so there's our factored form for number one. Number two, we have 4x squared minus 7x plus 3. So if we look at our terms, we have 4, negative 7, and 3, and none of those are, we don't have a GCF we could factor out. So here's where this magic x is going to come into play. Okay, so if I draw my x here, let's see if I can get us a straight line. Here we go. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a times c, and we're going to write that number right there. And then we're going to write the number for b right here. Okay, so a times c, so here's a and here's c, so 4 times 3 is 12, and there's b, negative 7. Okay, so now in these two spots right here, we want to find two numbers that add to b and multiply to a times c. Okay, so we want two numbers that add here, but multiply to this number. So multiply to 12, add to negative 7. So we're going to say negative 4 and negative 3. So these two numbers in here, it doesn't matter which side of the x you put them on, we just need those two numbers in the middle. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take negative 4 and negative 3, and we're going to make them negative 4x and negative 3x, and it's going to take the place of negative 7x. So it's going to look like this: 4x squared minus 4x minus 3x plus 3. So notice how in the middle, if we were to combine this, it would be minus 7x. So essentially what we've done is we've broken it apart so that now we can group together our two separate terms here and factor out a common factor. Okay, so once we plug in these numbers, negative 4 and 3, make sure you're plugging them in so that you can factor out a common factor. It wouldn't have helped me to have put 3 here and 4 there, because then 4 and 3, not a common factor, right? So make sure you're kind of thinking about that as you're plugging those in. So now we can factor out. So 4x, we can factor out a 4x here. And now this is going to be x minus 1. And over here we could factor out a negative 3. And we're also going to get an x minus 1. So the goal here, when you get to this step, is to get the same binomial in parentheses. Okay, that's the goal. Once we have that, now we're going to write that binomial, x minus 1. And then the other two terms that we have, we're going to write those together. Didn't want that to happen. We want to write those two together as our second binomial. Okay, so we have 4x and we have minus 3. So 4x minus 3. And that would be our final factored form. Okay. All right, let's look at number 3. Number 3, we're going to do the magic x again, because we have 3, we have 7, and we have 6. Can't factor those. Can't factor a GCF out of there, so we're going to draw our x here. Now, is drawing this x necessary? No, but it's an organizational tactic, right? It helps me stay organized so I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to write a times c up here and b at the bottom. So a times c would be negative 18, and b would be negative 7. So now we want to find two numbers that add to b and multiply to a times c, and we're going to write those on the sides of my x. So add to negative 7 and multiply to negative 18. So we can think 9 and 2, some combination here. let's say -9 and +2, right? Because we want those to add to -7, so we need our negative number to be the larger of those two. Okay, so now -9 and 2 are going to take the place of -7x. So let's do 3x² minus 9x plus 2x minus 6. Notice how I put the 9 with the 3 and the 2x with the 6. So now we can group together these terms and factor out. So let's factor out a 3x on the left, and that's going to give us x minus 3. And now notice if you're having trouble figuring out, oh, what should I factor out? Remember, we want the parentheses over here to say the same exact thing. We want that to say x minus 3. So sometimes it might be easier to start with the binomial you're trying to factor out. And so now we can see, okay, we just need to factor out a 2 up there, right? Because 2 times x is 2x and 2 times -3 is -6. So now we're going to write our binomial that we have in both terms, x minus 3. And then we have 3x and 2. So that would be 3x plus 2. All right. And our last one. So for this one, we have a negative at the beginning. A is negative. So what we can do is just factor out this negative. And now we have 9x² plus 3x minus 2. And now we're going to use the magic x for this one. Okay, so draw my x. But now I'm basically going to ignore the negative sign until I get to my answer. Okay, so a times c and b. So a is 9 and c is -2. So this is -18 and b is 3. Okay, so I want two numbers that add to 3 and multiply to -18. So this is going to be 6 and -3, right? Because 6 times -3 is -18. 6 plus -3 would be +3. So once again, I want to maintain my negative sign, but I just want to make sure I tack it on at the very end so I don't want to lose it. So I'm just going to write it on the side. So now I have 9x² minus 3x plus 6x minus 2, right? So 6 and -3 took the place of 3x, okay? So now we're going to combine, or we're going to group our terms together. We still have this negative out here, so we don't want to lose it. And let's factor out a 3x. Okay, so now this is going to be 3x minus 1. And remember, we want 3x minus 1 over here as well. So we would need to factor out a 2 in order to get 3x minus 1. So that would be 6x minus 2. And now we have our like factors, so 3x and 2. So we know we can write the binomial that we have in both, 3x minus 1, and then we can write 3x plus 2 as our other binomial, and then now we just tack on our negative sign, and we put it at the end just like that. All right, so that is how you factor trinomials when a is something other than 1.